The classified documents trail facing Donald Trump could last nearly a year, pitting it against the 2024 calendar and creating an unprecedented moment in American politics and history. A former president running for the White House while facing federal criminal charges. Joining me now, NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Michael, it's so great to have you here. So, Mr. Trump can run for the White House while facing these charges, right?
He can.
There's the precedent of Eugene Debs, I guess. Let's talk about that.
1920, he ran for office and he was actually in jail. He was not elected president, so we don't know whether he could have served from jail, which is something that people are talking about right now. Andrea, I'm so glad that we're doing it this way because I think people are going to get so numb to what's going on, they will forget how completely out of the American experience what we are seeing right now is. Just as you're saying, ex-president indicted on serious federal charges, arraigned tomorrow. He's the front runner of one of the two major parties in American life. This morning, as Garrett Haake reported just at the beginning of the show, Donald Trump on social media has now threatened his successor, Joe Biden, with a special prosecutor as one of the first things he'd do if he gets reelected. And there are domestic terrorists all over the place on the internet threatening violence. Any of those things would be unusual in American history. We've now got a confluence, and all I'm saying is, as we watch all this, let us not become so inured to this that we don't realize what an extraordinary and in certain ways terrible situation this is.
Now, until now, the most recent historic example of a president in trouble and having to resign, in fact, was Richard Nixon.
Right.
You've said that Trump is Nixon on steroids. How so?
Well, because Nixon at least had some sense of shame. He was a lawyer. He had some limits. He resigned when, he thought that it was impossible for him to win a Senate trial in an impeachment trial. Again, I never thought, Andrea, that you and I would be here, and here I am, boasting about the great qualities of Richard Nixon. But look at all the things that did not happen. He did not come to the point of being indicted and arraigned as Donald Trump has. He didn't incite domestic terrorists around the country, and some hostile foreign leaders, by the way, to help him not only in his current travail, but also in the election next year. This is so far different from Nixon that we look at Nixon as the benchmark for this, but Nixon is maybe 7% what we're seeing right now.
Well, it strikes me that on January 6th, 1961, Richard Nixon in the Senate as vice president helped to count the Electoral College votes, electing JFK when it was arguably a stolen election.
Absolutely. And so he thought. I think I would not, but people did argue that it might have been. 60 years later, to that day, just as you're saying, Donald Trump not only, did not say, the election is over, I've lost, President, let's unite the country. He staged this insurrection and coup d'etat to try to overthrow our democracy and end our system of free elections. I think, there is so much that's gone on in the last 7 years, and maybe especially in the last couple of years, that we are all at risk of just thinking this is somehow normal, especially young people. It certainly is not.